Hey, you guys, welcome to another episode of the Collective Podcast. We will be talking about authenticity today, and we are looking forward to having a discussion with you guys on this.
And you must have heard before, written as well as said, let your yes be yes and let your no be no. And that means authenticity is not just being yourself, it is being deeply aware of who you are, what your beliefs are, what are your hopes, and staying true to everything. And that's what authenticity is.
Yeah. So maybe we can start by us clarifying a little more on what the definition and the essence of authenticity is.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've written it down and I'm just going to paraphrase that. Authenticity isn't just being yourself, but it's just being deeply aware of yourself, acting from the truth, and having the courage to show up that way in your relationships as well as in your career, in every area of your life.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Because I feel from the time we are born, we are taught to be a particular way.
Exactly.
And which is good. We need to learn values. We need to have a moral system. We need to understand where we come from, where we are going, all of which is good. We need to understand our culture, the society we are in. But more often than not, in the process of becoming what we are taught to become, we might lose sight of who we actually are.
Absolutely, yeah.
And often, and at least this is my personal opinion, most of what is messed up in the world today is because we try to project an image of who we are instead of going inwards and figuring out what actually makes us tick.
Yeah.
And then following our heart on that in a holistic manner, because everything matters. What we are taught, how our culture works, how our values work, how our belief systems work matter. But it should also be aligned with who we are within.
Yes.
And so much of authenticity is based on that.
Yeah. I totally agree with you. And the fact that, like what you said, why we are not real, why we are not authentic is from the day we were born, we probably tried to be authentic, even as a child, in school, or later on in relationships, and it was not received or it was not appreciated. And thereby, we have formed a kind of an image of ourselves, and that is not you not being authentic to yourself now, because you know inside you are something else, but you portray and you say something else or you do something else, and that down the line it's not going to work out for you.
Yeah.
What is authenticity? You understood hopefully by now the definition of authenticity. What I would like to tell you is some research that's been done. And this is one done by Kernis and Goldman in 2006 about what authenticity is. And they said the unobstructed operation of one's true self is one's daily life. And I love that because if you can be authentic in every area, every part of yourself, and everything that you do, everything that you portray, and I think that's first will work out for you. Eventually, it will work out for people around you.
Yeah. And I feel that one of the reasons people struggle with not being authentic is also what has been fed into us. I know we addressed this a bit at the beginning, but also the fact that we don't have enough confidence in ourselves to believe that we matter or that we can.
Yeah. In a nutshell, you can call it self-awareness.
Self-awareness,
right?
yes.
And that's something they've said as well, that self-awareness is very important.
Right.
And being authentic in your self-awareness is very important as well.
Yes. So, and I feel like you just said, self-awareness is such a key thing because we are so distracted with daily life and with how things run on an everyday basis that we hardly take the time to turn inwards and introspect a bit. And I think self-awareness starts with taking a good, long, hard look at yourself to figure out what you like, what you don't like, what you're interested in, what you're not interested in, what irritates you, what doesn't irritate you. And all of these give you huge clues as to who you are as a person. You know, it's never about the external, as we already know. People may irritate us, incidents might come against us, circumstances might work against us.
Yeah.
But who we are is not determined by all of that.
Exactly.
Who we are is a core value that we carry, or a core identity that we carry,
Yeah.
that we need to figure out based on introspection, based on self-awareness.
Absolutely.
And of course, we have different tools to address that and figure that out.
Exactly.
But once we do that, now after self-awareness, are we willing to submit ourselves to that self-awareness,
Yeah.
to the truth that we have learned about ourselves?
Absolutely.
And the moment we submit ourselves to that, we become authentic. We sort of yield ourselves to the truth that we know about ourselves without struggling against it, without fighting against it.
Exactly.
Once we yield ourselves to the idea of who we are, to the knowledge of who we are, then we can work on making that good for ourselves and the rest of the world.
Exactly.
But till we figure that out, if we go at this with a vague idea of what we've been told about who we are,
Yeah.
without knowing who we are and just playing out the game
Yeah.
of how we are supposed to function in a society or in this world or in a family,
Right.
then we mess things up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And sometimes we don't ask ourselves some questions. Who am I? Is a good question to ask yourself. And why do I do what I do? Right? Or why do I say what I say? And we're still talking about self-awareness here. And like Mercy said, self-awareness needs to go into every area of our lives. And how are we going to get self-aware? We're going to get self-aware by asking ourselves these questions, or on a day-to-day basis when you're doing something, right? Just being aware at the back of your mind, or why am I doing this? Right? Do I like doing this?
And that's true.
Or do I don't like doing this? If I don't like doing this, why am I doing this? And these are the things that we really don't ask ourselves, and thereby fall prey to the system, because the system is set for you to function a certain way. And whether we like it or not, falling in line with the system down the line is not going to work out for you, because you might be doing things internally which you don't like doing, and thereby doing it under stress or duress, or in the process on a very deep end of the scale, getting abused, or
Or abusing.
exactly.
Yeah.
And all these things happen.
Yeah, I think that is another reason why we need to be authentic.
Yeah.
Because we already know now that it affects the body,
Yeah.
it affects the mind,
Yeah.
and therefore, directly or indirectly, it affects everything around us.
Exactly. Yeah.
Who we are, what we are, affects us and the world around us.
100%.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about authenticity and well-being towards the end. But, I want to draw our attention right now to the fact that authenticity means, once you go beyond self-awareness, it is unbiased processing.
Yeah.
Talked about it a little bit, which means being honest with yourself and not sugarcoating your flaws.
Yes.
Okay?
That's it.
Sugarcoating
Yeah.
of your flaws is what will lead to all kinds of problems with you, in you, and around you.
Yeah.
Right?
Sugarcoating, justifying,
Exactly.
finding excuses
Yeah.
to go like, hey, this is who I am. I can't help
Exactly.
this.
Yeah.
All of that doesn't work because authenticity, yeah.
And by its definition itself, authenticity is not being yourself. Authenticity is being aware of everything about you.
Yes.
Everything
Yeah.
about you.
Yeah.
It's not just like I'm going to be myself and it's okay.
Yes.
And some of us might have tried that before and noticed, right,
That it
just
backfired.
didn't work out.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because I do think the general understanding of authenticity is I'm going to be myself. This is who I am. Sorry, I can't change, or whatever the version of that is.
Yeah.
But like you said, the whole idea of authenticity is being aware of who you are.
Exactly.
And then trying to work towards what you want out of life.
Exactly.
Based on who you are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
To accept your own flaws, first and foremost, being authentic looks like accepting your flaws, right? That is what we call being vulnerable to yourself, right? And without that vulnerability, you're not giving yourself a chance or an opportunity to heal from those flaws or to develop from the place of those flaws. Don't you think so?
I completely agree with that. Yeah.
Right? And moving beyond...
Because the more we say that this is who I am, we have shut ourselves down
Exactly.
from progress, from transformation, from change in every way. Yeah.
Absolutely. So we start from there, right? We start from self-awareness. Then we start, once you become self-aware, you know what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, your flaws are. And then instead of sugarcoating your flaws, now we move on to the next, which is behavioral authenticity,
Right.
now what you reflect in your day to day, what you say, all these things, now you need to bring that authenticity about who you are outside. Yes, there is that fact that it won't be received all the time.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, you being real or you being honest to yourself and to another probably is not received, and that is when stuff like you need to read the room or you need to be wise in what you say.
Yes.
And if it's not being received when you're being real, I would say maybe that's not a place that you need to be, but just do what you got to do from a safe distance. Does that make sense to you?
Be wise about
Yeah,
it,
be
like
wise
you
about
said.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things I also wanted to talk about was what we were just addressing, this whole being yourself. This is who I am
Right. Yeah, that's a good
aspect. Okay. Because like we said, most often we use it as we justify our actions and our thoughts and how we behave to ourselves and to others based on this idea, hey, this is who I am and I'm being real, okay?
Exactly.
Without understanding, and this is where self-awareness really comes into play, without understanding that who I think I am right now is such is a collection, okay? It's a collective output of all our traumas,
Yeah.
our genetics, okay, so much of our past, so much of, like we said, what has been taught to us, so many things that we haven't really dwelled into and just took on surface value. We have put a picture of all of that together and we've decided this is who I am and this is who I'm gonna be. Also, because we're afraid of change and transformation because it's very uncomfortable, we decide, okay, this is who I am and this is my authentic version. Whereas once you start introspecting and once you walk down the journey of self-awareness, you find that so much of who you thought you are is mostly just a defense mechanism.
Exactly.
Or a survival tactic to get you through life
Exactly.
without really experiencing the full spectrum of life the way it can be in the situation that you are in.
Yeah, exactly. And when you do that, you are now authentic in every area of your life.
Yes.
Right? Your beliefs, your values, your opinions, your situations, everything you're authentic, and that will help you in such a way that you would down the line feel like you can see, perceive, think, feel much different than those who are stuck in a system.
Yes. Yeah.
Who are being driven by something rather than their heart and mind and body, and
Who are
that's
being
very
driven sometimes mindlessly without really thinking through unconsciously.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and we need to carry that into our relationships as well,
Yes.
which is what we call
yes.
relational authenticity.
Yeah.
Right.
And to be fair, I think we need to clarify that nobody's perfect, clearly, and everybody is growing in this journey of authenticity.
Yeah.
And that is why we address what we address, because it has been our growth as well. From a place where we probably assume this is what authenticity looks like, to a place where we now know it is a journey, it takes work.
100%.
It can get tough, it can get really uncomfortable, but it's really worth it because it does bring you a certain measure of peace.
Yeah.
And joy, of course, yeah.
These four things that I'm going to tell you right now are what you can probably put under this inventory called authenticity. Okay. First one is self-awareness. We've discussed that. Second one is unbiased processing, accepting your flaws, your mistakes, and everything else. And the next one is behavioral authenticity, like, act out your authenticity.
Act out what you believe at this
Yes,
point,
exactly.
or who you
And
are.
finally is relational authenticity, that you be you be authentic in your relationships, right? And that, if you can understand, now you know that you started your journey by being authentic.
So like we were saying, authenticity affects our well-being, okay? And our well-being, of course, is the groundwork of who we are and how productive we are and how effective we are in our daily lives and in the bigger picture. All right. So maybe you can tell us a little more about how it affects our well-being.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
See, when we use the word well-being itself, ultimately we're talking about how we feel.
Right.
Are we not? Right. So I would mention a small study here, which we've discussed before. It's called Spain, right? Scale of positive and negative experiences. Right. It's more like a questionnaire you take. In that, what they've figured out is there is a positive score and a negative score and a balance of these scores. And for people who are really authentic, who are very real with themselves, their feelings, their thoughts, the positive scores are always high.
Right.
Okay. And thereby the balance, is also high, because they're very now real about their strengths and also their weaknesses.
They're balanced.
They're
Yes.
balanced. Okay. And thereby they found that their well-being, which is feeling, which is positive emotions, right? That's what we're talking about. The scale P, positive, is really high. So that's one study. And we will also mention a couple of studies done by Wood in 2008 and Sheldon in 1997. Okay. These guys say there is a correlation between authentic living and well-being. The more authentic you are, the better your well-being is.
Okay.
According to Wood, right? He said authenticity is positively correlated with life satisfaction. Now, everything that we do, everything that we want, everything that we need or we desire, or all that we are looking at being satisfied in life.
Yes.
Right? And
At least to
addressed
begin
that.
with.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We addressed that before. Your favorite car means what happens when you get your favorite car? You'll feel peaceful, joyful, and thereby satisfied with life or with the car. So authenticity is one ways you can start today or right now as we're speaking, where it's going to lead you to a place where you can be satisfied with yourself and with your surroundings.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Stuff like self-esteem, positive effect, right? And these things apparently will improve if you're authentic, according to this study.
Right.
And then they also found on the flip side, which is it is also negatively correlated with stuff like anxiety and depression.
Absolutely.
Right?
And therefore a whole host of diseases,
Exactly.
I'm assuming. Yeah.
Because all diseases today, they say one of the main reasons is stress and food.
Yes.
We'll talk about food probably in another episode. Stress is one of the things, and why we are stressful is because we are unable to be real, whether it is within ourselves, in our heads,
Yes.
or in a setting, in a family.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. So when we know, based on this study, that it is costing you, why do you want to take that path of being unreal?
Right.
Being non-authentic.
Yes.
And that is why we should take that seriously. And stuff like depression, anxiety, you know what they are. And why they come is because you probably live in a setting or a surrounding or in a place or working in a place where you are being, made non-authentic, by the things that you do or see or whatever. And it goes, you just it piles up, right?
Right.
Down the line.
And I
piles
think one of the reasons we are willing to take on non-authenticity, if that's a term, is also because we fear discomfort.
Exactly.
I think as a species, we've of course gone through eons of evolution, and we've learned now to make comfort a lifestyle.
Exactly.
And we are literally afraid of discomfort. We do everything we can in our power to be in control and to be in comfort at all times.
Yeah.
And being authentic will challenge that.
Exactly.
First of all, I know for a fact that you'll get really uncomfortable with yourself the moment you face yourself and find out that you are as vulnerable as the next person that you judge or that I judge.
So when you're real with yourself.
When you're real with yourself, the first thing you'll understand is I am as bad as the worst person that I am judging, or I am as good as the best person that I look up to.
Exactly.
All right?
Yeah.
And that is going to make me really uncomfortable. And we don't want to sit with the discomfort of that emotion or that truth that just hit us.
Yeah.
So we do everything we can to quickly get into what makes us comfortable, which is, like I said, justifying our actions and our beliefs and our thoughts to match our comfort level inside.
Exactly.
Okay? And the moment we do that, we have shifted from this place of, hey, I want to grow and be real, because growth takes discomfort.
Yeah.
We have to get uncomfortable to grow. If you notice humanity and its progress, it's always been people who were not satisfied with the norms that brought about change in whatever ways.
Exactly.
And when you're not satisfied with something, it will make you uncomfortable. And I don't mean discontent in every sphere of life. I mean, when you want change and you want growth and you want transformation, it makes you uncomfortable because you have to step outside of what you have learned all your life. And most of us are not willing to do that. So we settle for, hey, this is what I've been taught, so I will live with this. I don't have to be anything more than this because this serves my purpose for now.
Exactly.
Except, like Vamsi was just saying, in the long run, we don't understand that this actually affects our well being and the well being of others around us. And of course, eventually, every drop, it's a drop in the ocean, so it affects the world at large.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And according to that 1997 study by Sheldon, he concludes that people feel more happier and more fulfilled when their actions align with their
their-
core beliefs
Yes.
and values.
Yes.
Okay. And
In
that's
fact, they have found out one of the main reasons for anxiety attacks is that
Exactly.
your core beliefs don't align with your thoughts or your actions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the reasons why we are saying what we are saying, what we're talking about is like today we start within ourselves and we also create a platform, create a space for others to be authentic with ourselves, right?
Right.
And disagreeing about that is okay. And even if you don't agree, but the fact that they're being authentic is something that you need to appreciate, right?
Yeah.
On a day-to-day basis.
Yes.
That's something that we do.
Yes.
And that's something that
And
we
not
know
to
that
take away the
works.
voice of a person, because when you voice things out,
Exactly.
you help them by being
The
authentic.
person. Yeah. So when someone's being vulnerable and you don't like it, I think it's time you start accepting that it's okay for them to be that way. And it's okay if you're uncomfortable, right?
Yes.
This is all being real. This
Yes.
is all being very authentic.
Yes.
And also say, hey, probably you can say it's very uncomfortable for me, but you know what? I accept you. I accept what you're saying, even though I don't understand it. And that
Yes.
gives each other, the person in a relationship, a good platform to start and be together in a
Yes.
better way.
And of course, everything is about balance.
Yeah.
And so just because someone's vulnerable with you doesn't mean you have to handle emotional dumping or boundaries being crossed.
Exactly.
Okay, so we need to know again how much we can tolerate, what we can take, what we can handle, but also what is acceptable and not for the other person and for us.
Absolutely.
Okay,
And
so when someone's vulnerable with us, that doesn't necessarily mean that we take everything that they have to dump on us.
yeah,
We do it within the capacity that we have and the other person has.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And that also comes from a place
Of knowing
being
yourself again.
authentic with yourself,
Yes.
knowing who you are,
Yes.
knowing what your strengths and weaknesses are. And that's brilliant. One of the strongest predictors of long-term happiness isn't wealth or success. It is whether you feel like you're being true to who you are or not.
Absolutely. And yes, happiness does come from wealth and success, goes unsaid. But I doubt if we can truly enjoy it for what it is,
Yeah.
if we are not authentic with ourselves, because lack of authenticity will make us very dissatisfied and we'll always be chasing that mythical pot of gold at the end of a rainbow.
Exactly.
No matter how wealthy or successful we get, if you're not real with ourselves and with others.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to start with this statement, and it will help you establish authenticity into your existence. And this is what it is: the more authentic you are, the less approval you need. Okay.
Yes.
And that's not arrogance. Don't call it arrogance. It's actually clarity. No.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah.
So authenticity as a buffer against social pressure.
Yes.
That's what.
Yeah, because authenticity makes you confident.
Exactly.
You seek approval only because you're not confident or sure of who you are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there is a study, Ryan and Deci 2000. They said it's a theory called self-determination. And through that, they said that authenticity helps resist external pressures and maintain autonomy.
Awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
Especially in cultures or environments that value conformity.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
That's because we are trying to now fit in and thereby losing a core essence of who we are, because all that effort and time and breadth and dialogue that we put into trying to fit in, we lose out on that very thing that we are.
Yes.
And thereby, without you knowing, you're adding layers and layers of stress.
Yes.
Layers and layers of falsehood. I don't know if I can use the word falsehood. Okay. And you yourself will struggle against that.
Absolutely.
And that is how anxiety, one of the
Yes.
main things, develop, like you said before.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what can we do to actually prevent that?
And like Vamsi was saying, lack of authenticity, okay, makes us conform to society in the worst ways possible.
Exactly.
All right. Being in a community, being in a society, working together with people is one of the best things that we can do.
Yeah.
And one of the best ways to help ourselves, our health, our longevity, our happiness, and that of the people around us, working together with people. Yeah. I know some of us are loners and do better without all of that. But being in a society conforming to values and norms is a beautiful thing.
Exactly.
All right.
Yeah.
But it should be, again, like we say, done from a place where you know who you are
100%.
and you're doing it not for their validation or to feel that sense of belonging which we desperately lack within ourselves otherwise.
Yeah.
But we do it from a place where we are walking that journey of, hey, this is who I am. I will accept you for who you are. Okay. And together we can make our visions and our dreams and our goals come true.
Yeah.
All right. So conforming to a society or to a culture or to family norms is not the worst thing, but how we go about it is what matters.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, in a nutshell, being authentic doesn't mean you're selfish. Doesn't mean you're being selfish. It actually means you're being more centered.
Absolutely. And increasing your capacity to be selfless.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And also less easily manipulated.
Yes.
Right. Or fall into conformity, which will make you perform things that you don't want to do.
Right.
Right. And it makes your performance more real, more authentic, and thereby satisfaction
Yes.
and well-being and all those things that we talk about. Right.
So we were talking about relational authenticity and how it affects us. So maybe you can tell us more about it. Yeah.
Authenticity in relationships, like we discussed, I did say before that you need to encourage authenticity and you need to be authentic in a relationship, right? So there's a study done by Brunel, Brunell, in 2010, where they figured out that authenticity is directly proportional to relationship satisfaction. Okay. And what most of us don't realize and understand in a day-to-day basis is whether it is a family or a friend or a colleague or whatever, the more interaction or the more there is a relationship there, what are we ultimately aiming for from that? Of course, sometimes it's a task-oriented relationship, and it can be that.
And it's fine, yeah.
Yeah, and it's okay. But beyond that, we all want satisfaction from our relationships. And the study says authenticity will give you that satisfaction more than not being authentic in your relationships, right? So people who are authentic tend to attract deeper, stronger, and more fruitful relationships. And that's our experience.
Yes.
Right? But by the way, because we're talking about authenticity and we see the value of authenticity based on how we were authentic in everything. Even as we are talking about this, we're being very authentic to what our beliefs are, which is authenticity, right? So we realize in this journey, we attract more meaningful relationships, deeper relationships, and even our community, NAB Collective, is thriving today because we facilitate authenticity and we accept people for what they are.
And that is really fulfilling.
Yeah.
And drawing such people around us really goes a long way. Again, studies will show this in determining our longevity, our health, and how successful we are in what we put our hands to.
Absolutely.
So much of this boils down to how authentic our relationships and our community are in that sense.
Yeah. Exactly. So talking about miscommunication, right? Resentment, miscommunication. Miscommunication happens most of the time because I have seen instances where you don't know anything about a certain topic, for example, but just because a conversation is going on between 2 or 3 people and you feel left out, where you're not being authentic to the fact that you don't know what they're talking about, but you want to say something, right? Just to fit in, conform, and you say stuff and
or do stuff just
stuff,
to belong.
exactly.
Yeah.
And down the line, maybe in another different setting, that person you're having that conversation with says something back to you.
And of course, they misunderstood you because you weren't being real.
Yeah.
And then you wonder, why do I attract what I attract?
Exactly.
It's because we started it out by not being real.
Exactly.
Right.
So, miscommunication can be avoided. Resentment can be avoided if you're going to be authentic, right? In your conversations. If you know something, you say you know it. If you don't know, you don't know it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the best.
And it's not just about, that was an example.
Yeah.
But we could also be inauthentic when we operate from fear and don't want people to see our real selves.
Exactly.
Or when we operate from anxiety because we don't want the disapproval of people.
Exactly.
Or we operate from a place of unworthiness, not feeling enough. So, like Vamsi said, we try to make up for it by being extra.
Exactly.
And then what happens is, first, we start believing the lies we tell ourselves, which already goes then against the core of who we believe we are.
That's right.
That in
Yeah.
itself will produce a whole host of issues.
Exactly.
But again, what happens is when we do that, people are definitely not getting the real version of us. So they will be with us the way we have projected ourselves to be. All right. And then everything goes for a toss because now we are, like I said, attracting the things that we don't really need in our lives
Exactly.
because we have given people a picture of who we are not
Exactly.
when we are completely different from that in that
Yeah.
sense of the word.
And,
Yeah.
and you can avoid all this with that first thing that we talked about, which is self-awareness.
Yes.
Right? And becoming self-aware. Now, resentment and miscommunication or whatever, misrepresentation because you're not being real, all this will ultimately lead you to a place where you are exhausted emotionally.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And emotional exhaustion looks like you're not feeling good. And that looks like well-being is affected.
Yes.
Right? And that is why authenticity on a Spain scale,
Yeah.
brings you
Yes.
better satisfaction,
Yes.
better
Yeah.
positivity.
So many factors go into how we feel on an everyday basis. And yes, our feelings don't determine who we are, but if we want to feel good through the day, if you when I say feel good, like healthy and happy and active and excited for life, if you want to feel all that, yes, so many factors come into play. But I do personally believe, and I know Vamsi believes the same, that authenticity plays a huge part in how your everyday life, its feelings and its thoughts and its behavior works. Because if we are not true to ourselves, yes, for a while we get away with manipulation, games, fears, worries, all of which are non-authentic versions of ourselves.
Exactly.
Yes, we can get away with that. In fact, we can even build things in life with that, okay? But they would not have lasting foundations, in my opinion. Not to mention, like we are just talking about, they will affect our health. They will affect everything about us in the long run.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about relationships now, and relationship means a connection, right? And if vulnerability is the doorway to connection, authenticity is the key that unlocks it.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So start today again. Being authentic
Yeah.
in your relationship,
Yes.
and encouraging authenticity
Yes.
in your relationship.
And we are not promising that it'll be easy.
Yeah.
Because once you start being authentic, like we already said, you will go through a whole lot of discomfort, one. And as you start shedding versions of yourselves that are not you, you won't be really accepted by the people you might have been with all this time. They're going to struggle accepting this new version of you as well. So be prepared to feel uncomfortable. It might not look all rosy on the outside,
Yeah.
but in the long run, it will serve your purpose.
100%.
Yeah.
No doubt about that.
Yeah.
Okay. So now we're going to talk about the cost of inauthenticity. Okay. According to a study done by Lenton in 2013, it showed that people who are inauthentic in everything that they do, that they are, they report feeling disconnected from themselves. Okay. Emotionally drained, exhaustion, right? That we
Right.
talked about, and morally compromised.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And that is something that happens because you're not authentic
Yeah.
with yourself and with another to begin with. Now, in workplaces, inauthenticity leads to burnout,
Yes.
right? That is something that nobody understands. Why am I feeling burnout? Because you spent so much energy into trying to fit in, trying to do something that you're not, and thereby, it burns you out.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. And again, we want to stress that being authentic does not mean you just, or I just walk in somewhere and go like, hey, this is who I am, deal with
Exactly.
it. Okay. Whether it's a workplace or anywhere else in life, that's not what authenticity is.
No, it's not.
All right.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Right. So especially, in areas where you deal with people on a day-to-day basis, like in customer care, healthcare, teaching, or a community work that you do, your inauthenticity will lead you further deep into dissatisfaction, emotional exhaustion and stuff like that, because now you're trying to put in so much energy into being something that you're not, and that will burn you out. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so accept, to begin with, that this is who I am, these are my strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah.
Start there, and you would now know to use your strengths to make sure it works out for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And wearing a mask, right, is tiring.
It's tiring.
Is
Yeah.
very tiring.
Yes.
And why do we want to do that? We can just lift the mask off if somebody is there to accept you, take it off and start living authentically.
Absolutely. And the key word there is make sure that you are accepted.
Yeah.
When you do show your vulnerable side.
Yeah.
There is no point being vulnerable to people who don't honor your vulnerability.
Yeah.
So we do understand that wisdom should be exercised when it comes to being your absolute vulnerable, real, raw version with people.
Yeah.
But we can start step by step with those around us. And again, like I said, act with wisdom and know this is how much I can be here with this person or in this situation or in this workplace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And authenticity is important in such a way that you can now have a sense of self, because wearing that mask erodes that sense of self.
Yes.
It down the line erases that sense of self, and no amount of success, no amount of wealth can fill that void
Yeah.
if you're gonna go about being inauthentic.
Yes. And like we mentioned already, the whole point is to not to lie to yourself. Even if you can't be 100% authentic with someone in front of you, okay, it's important that you know that you can't lie to yourself.
Yeah.
Even as you show bits and pieces of yourself and you're strong enough to show bits and pieces of yourself to another, always make sure that you're not lying to yourself in the process.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we'll close with this. I want you guys to understand there is a difference between authenticity. On the other side of it is what we call toxic individualism.
Right.
Okay. So it's more like authenticity versus toxic individualism.
Which is
Now,
this is who I am, deal
yeah,
with it. Yeah.
authenticity doesn't mean do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that. It means, yes, you feel, you think, but ultimately there are boundaries, right? And that is something you will recognize if you're authentic
Yes.
to begin with.
Yes.
Right? And true authenticity is relational.
Yes.
Right? And
It doesn't isolate itself.
exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. It doesn't isolate. It considers impact.
It doesn't reject others.
Yeah. It doesn't reject others. It's more
because they are
accepting.
different. Yeah.
Exactly. And it considers stuff like ethics, impacts, empathy, sympathy.
Right.
All these things that we talk about. Authenticity actually facilitates, a space within you and around you for all these things.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not like we said toxic individualism. I'm going to be myself, right? Whereas you're not actually being real by saying I'm going to be myself.
Yes.
It
yes.
is a
Because
form
what is yourself?
Yeah,
Have we thought
exactly.
about it? Yeah. Yeah.
It is a form of rebellion rather than reality.
Yes.
And you can rebel when you know it's a good cause and you're being true to yourself.
Yes.
But otherwise, you're only putting out a shell, a mask that will work against you.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So, as Brené Brown puts it, authenticity is a daily practice of letting go of who we think we are, okay? So, who we are supposed to be, and actually embracing, accepting, loving who we are.
Who we are.
Isn't that brilliant?
That's beautiful.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, folks, start there. Today, this very moment, take what we're talking about and help build a better community, better world, better whatever, by being real and allowing reality to be real.
Absolutely.
Authenticity, it is not a luxury. It is a foundation for well-being. It is a foundation for mental health,
Yes.
good relationships, deep relationships, right? And above all, a meaningful life and existence. Okay.
Yes.
And based on what we've discussed today, that research also backs that up. Okay. So the more we align with who we truly are,
Yes.
the more resilient, joyful, peaceful, and connected
Yes.
we become.
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
I think one of the reasons we live is also because we want to love living.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I feel that so much of that is lost in today's world, with all the rushing around and the need to possess things, and which is all beautiful. Okay, we should have the best of things.
Sure.
We should live the best of lives.
Yeah.
But we should also want it. We should take satisfaction and fulfillment from it. More importantly, we should wake up every morning and feel motivated to live life
Yeah.
and life to its fullest, right?
Absolutely.
And so many of us have lost that. And I feel one of the key factors that affect that is authenticity. The more we fake it and the more we put on masks and the more we are scared to reveal who we truly are because we fear disapproval in so many ways, the more we are suppressing our vigor and energy for life.
Bang.
All right. So if any of you, or including me here, at this point wake up feeling like, hey, why don't I have the joy for life
Yeah.
that I used to have? Or why is today such a gloomy day, for example? Yes, of course, there are many factors that go into it. But if we have lost the reason for living in whatever way and means,
Yeah.
I think we might need to take a good, long, hard look at, am I being true to me, first of all? All right? Am I lying to myself? Am I being authentic here? Because the more we walk in authenticity, I feel the more passion and motivation we have to live life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all for today, folks. And I hope you understood authenticity, right? And if you have any questions or anything to ask, drop your comments below and we will get back to you. Thank you for joining us today. Be real.
So we'll catch you on the next episode. Looking forward to that.